Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Ask Sibs, both on Instagram. I'm not going to do the whole introduction. I've done the last 2 days again, but you get the gist. I'm on Instagram down here on my phone, and I'm on the other channels on the laptop. So, anyway, welcome back. I'm going strong, 4 days on the trot. Bit later today than hoped for. I haven't really stopped since first thing this morning. Managed to have a quick bit of lunch, but yeah, really, really busy day. Just had a few minutes to jump on. And so today's question that I'm going to be answering is, what is an influencer? So I thought, sort of, to break it down in a few ways. First of all, we all kind of understand what to have influence is, and just to acknowledge that that's possible in all walks of life. Obviously, we are going to move on to social media influencing because of the work I've done as a blogger and influencer, and because of the work we're doing as Purple Goat. And for any of you watching who is interested in disability influencer, social media marketing. So we will end up more square on in that part of the conversation. But I think it's probably reasonable to acknowledge that, for example, if you work at a big business and you head up a department, you have a lot of influence over that department. If you're a director at a company, as in like a head of department as well, it could be the same thing, but you clearly have a lot of influence over the strategy and decision making of that business at a very high level. So that's a kind of general business example of how you can have influence even when you are an employee of a business. Teachers have a lot of influence over children, the class. So definitely there's a lot happening in the world of influencing if you're a teacher, even if you maybe don't normally think of it like that. And the reason that we probably don't think of it like that very often is the last sort of 5 to 10 years, definitely the last 5 years, the word influencer is very synonymous with what I was talking about before, that social media influencer. So maybe to give a slight definition of what that actually means, because I appreciate some people will be watching this that kind of have heard of it and, come across it, but maybe not that clear on what it is. So for me, this isn't like an official Oxford Dictionary term. It's just what I've come to believe that the word means. If you are a social media influencer, it means that you've been creating content. So that could be words, writing, a blog, could be pictures, particularly on Instagram is where a lot of the sort of photography, imagery side comes. Could be video, very much like I'm doing now, where YouTube was more the pioneer. Of course, we can share words, pictures, videos on most of the different social media platforms. So I think there's, first of all, something about creating content. And then that doesn't mean you're an influencer, by the way. That's kind of like step one. But then the way that you then have inverted comma influence is that you have followers. And in and of itself sounds a bit weird. I think if we go back 20 years before social media, if we were ever talking about followers, it might sound a bit strange. But essentially, it's that the content is really valuable. It could be pure entertainment, it could be educational, but whatever the content is, it brings some kind of value to a group of people. So they literally follow that person's account, and then they start to maybe like the post and comment on the post. Again, all the stuff we inherently know about now with the everyday life of social media. But in the end, that person on their chosen topic, and some influencers are very broad. They talk about all sorts of topics, potentially, call them like lifestyle influencers. I mean, you can be broader, not just as a lifestyle influencer, you can be broad in lots of ways. But the most typical broad brush influencer is probably in the lifestyle space. But then you get people that are very much focused on, beauty, on fashion, on sport, on music, like all the different parts of life. Generally, people become more, as I would say, get more traction, inverted comma, as an influencer, the more niche or niche, as our friends in the United States say. The more niche we are, the more traction there is. And then so even moving this conversation from what generally an influential person can be in all walks of life to what I believe an influencer is in the social media sense, we then get into the disability part of the conversation. So I literally 2009 started creating content, building a community, and it was all just around living everyday life as a disabled person. And so I almost became known in the niche of disability as an influencer. And then obviously, again, coming into what we just said before, you may have a disability or talk about disability, and you might do that on all sorts of topics. But I would say I was probably more lifestyle. I'd be talking about working, about dating before I met Gasha, obviously, about holidays, travel. So I just literally covered all parts of my life, but obviously with that niche or that focus on disability. And I think when I started, I never set out to become an influencer. I almost don't feel that an individual self-defines as an influencer. It's like a consequence of just caring about a topic, adding value through the content, and taking the time and the patience to to build out a community and to engage with the people that follow that content. As there's lots of facets, as I was saying yesterday when I broke the general marketing world down into organic and paid, and just sort of defined that as simply was doable in one video. But actually, there's a lot of different ways of spiraling off from those two topics. It's similar when we talk about social media influencer and disability. There's all sorts of use cases and all sorts of variables. But yeah, so there's a sort of disability lifestyle, but then there's actually absolutely now disabled people that only focus on particular topics, like we said, beauty, sport, travel, etc., etc. And so coming back to the question that's been posed, what is an influencer? I think the final part of all this puzzle is that it's to do with the way that we form beliefs as people, and as a sort of culture, there are different trends and sort of preferences and all that kind of stuff we see every day today. And that's not just as a sort of consumer behavior perspective, although very much that's part of it, but just generally what as a population of the world, what we all see and feel and think and do, we're all being influenced by each other. And that's been the case way back. I don't know if any of you have read Sapiens by Noah Yuval Harari. Really, really interesting book that underlines how we've evolved as Homo sapiens through storytelling to the kind of connected world we've got even prior to the internet. So we're all influencing. So we're all influencers is one thing I would actually say. But in the sort of definition, the inverted commas of social media influencer, it doesn't have to be someone with 50,000, 100,000, 1 million followers to be an influencer, and then saying that someone with 500, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 followers is not influential. I think we all have influence at different ways and different levels. And in the end, it's we all find the topics we care about. We come together in communities, we collaborate, we partner. If we look at political movement, civil rights movement, the more people came together and there was a collective voice, the more influence that had. So I suppose to some degree, influencers are thought leaders, change makers, particularly when I look at the disability rights movement. There's very much, for me, an importance around social change, that influencers are the people that are trying to really create the future of disability inclusion, and looking at how the world has been, how it is now, but questioning it and disrupting it and innovating it. So again, there's so many different angles of what it can be to be an influencer. It can be someone that on a pure commercial capitalistic side influences their followers what products to buy or what brands to buy from. And I think we're all very aware that the data side of these social platforms and the consumer side, we're doing a lot of good work to make sure that all of the advertising and marketing is appropriate. We look at like GDPR, all that sort of good housekeeping kind of stuff is important. But yeah, there is a general dynamic of consumerism and influencing that. But I think there's very much around, encouraging people to have personal development, to better themselves, and to join in for good causes and help others. So I suppose in the end, I feel like social media is a tool, and it's how we as humans choose to use it that makes the biggest difference as to the effectiveness. And if someone wants to be an influencer or is being told by others that they are an influencer, there's just such a responsibility for that person to make sure they use their influencing capabilities or their platform and their voice in a way that is serving the greater good and serving their community, and doesn't come from a place of ego, but it comes from a place of helping others. So what it is really hard to define, as we've just realized through these last 10 minutes, but it certainly isn't all the bad side of it that maybe we've heard about in some recent years in the press. It certainly shouldn't be the shallow negative version that we sometimes hear, kind of repeating what I said there, but any negative dynamic, there is some of that going on, and we have to watch out for that and clean it up. But it certainly isn't only that. And I know, so in the short time we've run Purple Goat, the disabled influencers we've worked with are brilliant people, really talented, really creative. They really care about what they do. They're very passionate, and they just want to make the world better, to be honest. And I think that's the virtue and values that we should see from all influencers. So let's call out bad influencing practice and bad social media practice if we see it, but maybe also the flip side. And this goes for so many other topics I'll cover with you in the future. But let's celebrate the good stuff and acknowledge the good stuff, because I think as humans, as people, we're very quick to shout out the negative, but maybe not as vocal when we actually, talk about the sort of good side and giving people the gratitude and acknowledgement for what they've done. Jonathan's just said, very interesting topic. I've never considered myself or called myself an influencer, but I have had other people refer to me as one. I just want to make a difference in the community and don't really think too much about what I would call myself. Yeah, absolutely echoing and agreeing what I've just said there, Jonathan, I think. And it's a word we need to use in a bigger picture way, like change maker, thought leader. That's the kind of the synonym of influencer for me. So it's not bad to be an influencer, but as you say, Jonathan, you're more interested in cracking on and doing good stuff and not getting het up with labels and what you would self-define as in that way. That's for others to do. So cool. I think we're done. As always, good to catch up for the little daily live stream. I'm going to say bye to everyone on Instagram. Thank you for joining, and some of the thumbs up and laughing faces and general good stuff going on Instagram. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye for now. So that's done. And then, yes, back up here. Apologies. I've been trying to Google around, by the way, how to get this much more easier, but we'll roll with it for now. But yeah, thanks. Alice says, yes, agree. Hello to all. So a big hello to Alice as well back. Thanks for joining on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn as well. And I'll be back tomorrow for the last Q&A of the week. I can't stress enough, do use the hashtag AskSibs. Any questions, nothing's off, well, I'll say nothing's off limit. Probably are some things depending how weird or creepy the questions could get, but ultimately no questions are off limit. Be nice to get more and more viewer participation. But for now, I've got loads of different topics that I know that's going to benefit you all and interest you all as broad talking points. So I'll be carrying on and rolling with those in the meantime. And obviously keep coming with the live interactions as well. It's great to get that live engagement, and hopefully it'll be more lunchtime again tomorrow. I think for a lot of people between 12 and 2 is better because we're all on lunch. But as I say, it's just a bit of a busy one today. All right, take care. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.